from Biafrans Got Talent. We are letting Biafrans know the reason why we should remember those who gave their lives for us, those who died that we may live.
You died to end my suffering. You died fighting for my freedom. Your blood is the seed of redemption. You are my inspiration.
The deed no wrong with them, military shots at them. 67 to 70, we remember them. 2016, 38 May, memory still lives in our mind till today. Wonder why they refuse to publicize the genocide. The world media turn blind eyes to our plight. It's time to arise, land of the rising sun. Let's rise one more time, let's rise.
Yo, we will never forget our fallen heroes. Those who gave their life for us. Onitsha massacre, Igbos massacre, Ekpa massacre. We remember you. Alright.
Tell them I tortured me, oh. Remember when me tell you say I tortured me, oh. Yeah, I remember that one that called us a prospero. But the way you go like a papa nuku. Oh, then the way you me tell you what I look pandi, what pandi samiro. Me tell you what I dey. For we just all and the rest of man I tell you what I am. Me never give up. Me tell them
heroes, I want to promise you something today. We must fight together, no retreat and no surrender. We must hold them down till the end of time. The most important thing is that we will restore Biafra. May your soul rest in peace.
I look up to the sky with tears in my eye. For other Biafrans, if for freedom had to die. We will never forget you as the days go by. You are always in my heart, will ever be a part. They fought for our freedom. They died for our freedom. They fought the Nigerian soldiers in the war front. Without food, without guns. For our freedom, for our life, for our own good, for our children. We love them, our heroes. We want them.
My heart bleeds when I saw them slain. Where will I be now if not them? They will remain indelible in my heart forever, 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 and never, and never, and never.
We serve in your plantation, and the way you paid us back with your bloody starvation. We bled in our history that the death of my people is a mystery. No going back to get to a victory. I had a voice now call for vengeance. I never get bombed, I'ma blow like a vengeance.
Yo, we will never forget our fallen heroes. Those who gave their life for us. Onitsha massacre, Igbos massacre, Ekpa massacre. We remember you. Alright.
Where will I be now if not you? You died at Mali.
They were starved to death because of our freedom, and they paid the debt for our freedom. Flag high for those that died in the genocide, fighting for you and I. There is pain in the heart, we bleeding inside, tears in the eyes, so I'm falling here.
This is for my fallen heroes. Give them motivation, people. It's like I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Cause to be a gas, I need to be a nurse. If we did not retire,
They paid the ultimate price. They died for me, for the freedom of my unborn child. We live for the legacy.
Yo, we will never forget our fallen heroes.
flag in the air. Never be afraid. March on, cause we are more than conquerors. Yeah, you know what it is.
It's like I'm looking at myself in
We
the
must
mirror.
revenge, and we must stand to represent who we are.
Fight on, brave boys, fight on, heroes of our fatherland. Pursue the enemy, harass him, destroy the invader. March on, brave boys, now that victory is in sight. March on and hasten the disintegration of the enemy already set in motion.
Fighting a war, knowing the difficulties, the odds against us, there is an element of fatalism, people feeling, well, if the world chooses to abandon us, then perhaps it is better we all perish. They don't ever consider a Biafra not free. They believe in either Biafra free or no Biafra at all. That means none of us living to see it.
I need Biafra freedom. We Biafrans, we need Biafra freedom. For this, I decided, even to die, that Biafra must have its own freedom.
I want us to work systematically towards the establishment of a good, progressive, and democratic society where all vestiges of privilege and social injustice will be abolished, and the rich contribute more for the welfare of the poor. If civil war comes, and I do think it is imminent, you're quite right, it will for us be the price of freedom. Our people here have for a long time been prepared for this eventuality, and I am confident of their readiness. I think that when it does come, that the people on the other side would be surprised as to what they're going to get. And I'm confident that it will not last long.
We'll surely come out as a nation because we're fighting a just cause. Even a little child on the street will tell you this. We shall never go back to Nigeria again. God's grace will surely emerge as a nation. And so, as far as this war continues, we'll fight to the last man.
This is what Biafra is, the end of the journey for a persecuted, massacred, pursued people. We have made all attempts at a democratic resolution of this crisis. I have offered open elections, plebiscite. I have offered just an open carte blanche suggestion, anybody who can find a democratic way of finding out the wishes of the people, let him suggest it and we will go for it.
Another Savior,
Holy, 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 Adimegujugu. Another Savior, holy, 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 Adimegujugu. Another Savior, holy, holy.
If you do not believe in what we are doing, then you better get out. We're not going to stop. God knows we can never stop until Biafra is restored. We are peace-loving people. We abhor death and killing of another soul. It's in our nature, that's how we are. But because of that, they have been coming and killing us all these years. We've kept quiet. They've been killing and killing and killing quiet. We have a case at the ICC. We have a case at Africa Union. We have a case of, what else again? Pending before the UN in New York. We've been to Geneva to tender our case. Before UN, till today, nothing. In fact, the more we complain to them, the more they come to abduct and rape our children, the more they come to kill us, the more they want to take over our land and our forests. And who told them that's going to be possible in our time? In a time, in a movement that I lead, you think you can come into our land and take it over? Oh dear. That means you don't know who we are.
Welcome to the evening program. Thank you for joining. Connect from wherever you're connecting, like and share. Let us share some information and updates that is coming from the social media and from the conventional media. This evening, we are going to go on the different directions. So many people are concerned about the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and also Mazi Simon Ekpa. And I am going to bring to you some of the videos that made it in this very week, that went viral, video that will touch your heart, that will lead to listen to. Some of those videos are very, very important. Maybe, just maybe, when you listen to them, you might be forced to wake up because so many of us are sleeping. So that is why it is important we play those videos so that those people who are sleeping can wake up. I don't know what they are waiting for. It's a shame that people who are not even Biafrans are the ones that are in the front line speaking on behalf of our leaders. But those of us who are Biafrans are the ones attacking them. And some of us feel that it doesn't concern us. We don't care. It is time for us to pay attention. People from the north, people from other parts of the countries are speaking up for our leaders. But those of us who are concerned, we are not speaking. We feel that it is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's problem. It is Mazi Simon Ekpa's problem. It is my problem. No, it is our problem. Until you realize and know that it is our problem, then be prepared for the worst to happen. So let us listen to some of the videos we found on social media that needs attention.
Before, when you hear Igbo man speak, you hear authority, you hear respect. But as I'm talking to you now, when you hear Igbo man talk, you just say now one animal. For Igbo people are reduced to zero, no dignity, no respect. Your brother not do anything, they dey prison, they die slowly, Nnamdi Kanu. But the people when they buy us for Nigeria are returned back to their family. 700 repentant Boko Haram. And Nigeria still they pay them to live a good life, and they are still killing more. But Nigerian government, they are still in Igbo land. They find youths to join army so that there will be more killing. So they will kill the more Igbo youths. Igbos are zero. The legend who they look up to, they tell us we should relax. That Tinubu is fixing Nigeria. The one where they say they get sense, when you address, they are useless on TikTok or Facebook. They beg for points. Useless set of people. If not to fight their brother, they go to fight. Igbo billionaire have fun. I be billionaire and from March, what kind of bed? They come to punish all of us. You guys cannot speak for your brothers, but the Kanu people, the northern side, the governors, they come out to speak for their brother. When they kill them, somebody can kill 100 and will be recruited back to the society. But your brother did not kill anyone. They adopted him from Kenya or Uganda. Come next.
You have heard this. That is the shame. If shame not the shame you, it they shame me. This is a northerner calling you people to support your leaders, calling you people to support the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, calling you people to speak up. Now they speak up. It is good. That shame will touch everybody this time. And anytime I see them, I will bring it. I will play it so that we hear. Let us hear another one, short one again that explain the case of Mazi Simon Ekpa that is coming up. People who don't know. Just a quick one, then we'll go into their media and look at what they have in their media.
Now, today I want to talk about Simon Ekpa. People has been texting me. People has been asking me to talk about Simon Ekpa. Who is Simon Ekpa? He's a Nigerian Finnish citizen, the Nigerian and a Finland citizen. Okay, although he says he's not a Nigerian, he's a Biafran. Okay, and I call him that. He's a Biafran Finnish citizen. He was a military personnel, Finnish military personnel, and he was a politician. Okay, a politician of. I think his position was in Nigeria they call it senator. Okay, I think in Ghana they call it MP. Okay, that was his member of parliament. That was his position. He was a very top politician in Finland. Okay, but he's an Igbo man. Okay, he's an Igbo man, and he's been facing terrorism charges. Okay, by Nigeria. Nigeria alleged. Okay, by Nigeria. Okay, he's been facing terrorism charges in Finland. From the allegation of Nigeria. Okay. Now, today we want to look into his case. Okay, to find out if those things that Nigerian government has alleged are true or not. Okay, because we've seen so many cases, the cases of even the case of Mazi and Kanu. Okay, and all that. Okay, so you know in Nigeria you are being prosecuted on the basis of your ethnicity. One is once you're Igbo, you're an endangered tribe in Nigeria, that's one. And once you're a Christian as well, you're also an endangered faith. Okay, you're also an endangered person in Nigeria. Okay, so people are prosecuted on this basis. Okay, so let's look into the account of Simon Ekpa. Before he left Nigeria, they said he was an athlete. He was a very successful athlete. Okay, good one for that matter. Okay, and according to the story, they say he sustained injury. And the Nigerian government abandoned him, okay, and all that. Okay, people say that is the reason why he's angry, he's pained, and all that, okay. But this is something we see happen in Nigeria. This is something we see happen in Africa. Okay, you find out the athletes like footballers and all that. These are the things they go through. Okay, when they sustain injury, you find out that the country abandons them, and so it happens in Africa. Okay, it's one thing we face. Okay, so now. While we proceed, whether Simon Ekpa is guilty of the terrorism charges levied against him or not, I will want us to read an article. Okay, let me bring an article to you. Here says, my international legal intervention on the cases of Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa. My good international legal intervention in both the Finnish and the Nigerian cases involving Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa is to put one fundamental question to President Alexander Stubb of Finland and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria. If a former Attorney General of Nigeria, Abubakar Malami, who was involved in the Nigerian government's counter-terrorism policy and the prosecution of terrorism-related cases, was himself later accused of offenses relating to terrorism, financing, or failure to prosecute suspected financiers. Listen to that again. Was himself, okay, listen to that again. Abubakar Malami, who was involved in the Nigerian government's counter-terrorism policy and the prosecution of terrorism-related cases, was himself later accused of offenses relating to terrorism financing or failure to prosecute suspected financiers. Then this raises legitimate questions about consistency, accountability, equal application of the law, and the principles of justice. How can the same laws be applied to individuals in such circumstances, particularly when one person, Nnamdi Kanu, was brought to Nigeria under highly controversial circumstances, while another, Simon Ekpa, was arrested and prosecuted in Finland? My intervention is not to prejudge the guilt or innocence of anyone. It is to ask whether international law, due process, fairness, and equal justice are being applied consistently to all persons, regardless of their political status or the government involved. Justice must be blind. The law must be applied equally. Dr. David Nyekorach Masanga, peace advocate and international legal affairs commentator. Dr. David Masanga. Okay, this is the article he wrote. I picked it up on X. Okay, now, did you hear that? Who is Abubakar Malami? He is the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the Minister of Justice, and the Attorney General of the Federation. The Attorney General of Nigeria Federation. Is undergoing terrorism charges in Nigeria, ranging from financing terrorism or failure to prosecute terrorist financiers. Did you just hear that? In one of the cases, he met Sowore in court. He's undergoing terrorism charges in Nigeria. The person who made sure that Nnamdi Kanu is brought to Nigeria and kept behind bars. The person who made sure that Simon Ekpa is arrested and prosecuted and kept behind bars in Finland is undergoing terrorism charges. He's facing terrorism charges in Nigeria. The person who accused Nnamdi Kanu of terrorism charges, of being a terrorist, the person who had accused Simon Ekpa of being a terrorist. Did you just hear that? Okay. Now, Abubakar Malami served from 2015 to 2023. Okay? Now, he was the one, the Onisha killings. The Onisha killings. He was the one who was on seat when it happened in 2015. Also in 2016, he was there. The Mbo massacre, he was on seat when all these things went on in 2016. The Aba massacre, he was on seat. He was the Chief Justice of Nigeria when the Aba massacre occurred in 2016. In 2017, the killings of the Igbo massacre, he was there and all that. Those killings that occurred from that time when Muhammad Buhari was on seat, which of course we've seen, he's been indicted sponsoring terrorism in Igbo land when he was a president and all that, using the Igbo and the southeastern governors. We've seen all these things. Abubakar Malami was the one on seat, was the one in charge. When they were trying to forcefully push Islam, push their Fulanization agenda, he was the one on seat. Now, will you say, I want to ask you a honest question, will you say that Simon Ekpa is actually guilty, or he was just a resistance to their Fulanization agenda? Can we say he is guilty, is actually guilty as charged or as accused, or he was just a resistance that the state, that the government didn't want? Kindly follow my YouTube channel for the full video, okay? Lucy TV, okay? Like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. I love you.
Now, the issue is this. This is an offense of money laundering. It has nothing to do with the activities of Ghana. Now, let us even interrogate the activities of Ghana. What is it difficult for a government? You know what they present, cattle here, headers, and all of that. And there is so much more than that. There is this issue of header format. And people are saying that narrative, is it actually a header format? Right? Because when somebody that is wearing an AK-47 assault rifle, goes into someone's farm who is probably working with you, is that a class? That's not a class. And so why is it difficult for the government to properly designate this? Meanwhile, international organizations have designated it as one of the deadliest terror organizations. Why is it difficult for a government to do that? You see, a header migrates from being a header to a terrorist the moment he begins to wield assault rifle in the farm. And these people, we have seen them doing that in most cases. As a matter of fact, as far back as year 1996, 97, 98, even when the military was in government, these people had been doing all of this, but it was not really pronounced, and maybe because there was no social media at that time. Because I recall that they were killing these headers, were killing people in Okeguera in Oyo State in droves. Now I have to come from Shaki, where it is more pronounced. When you go to Oshaki, Igbeti, Isenyi, Igbo, because that name is actually in town, you will see what level of devastation these people had wrought in those areas. To the extent that the former president came all the way from Katsina in tow with Marwa, current NPA chairman, and Ahmed Joda, and the rest of them, to harass the sitting government in Oyo State for just 2 killings as a result of reprisal. Over 236 documented killings in that area. So, if somebody comes to you, brazenly, we see the videos, comes to you in your farm, brazenly attack you and uproot your cassava to feed cows that he is supposed to breed using his money, because at the end of the day, he's going to sell that cow to make profit. Then that kind of person cannot be heard. He's a terrorist. But unfortunately, when it comes down south, OPC was labeled terrorist organization, even when the president was Yoruba. Come to the southeast, ESN was labeled terrorist organization. IPOP was named terrorist organization. Yet, these people that are bent and intent on killing, they are running away from labeling them as terrorist organization. To me, I consider them as terrorists because the elder we used to know when we were young were only wielding sticks to head their cow. But the moment they transform from wielding stick to wielding AK-47, then you can't see their headers anymore.
Also argue that there's been infiltration because I mean, just like you said, growing up, the Fulani headsmen, the headers we knew about, they just did their business innocently. But even the Niati have talked, they've raised an alarm and they said that there's been infiltration by some of these insurgents. So how do we,
You see, before you can talk about infiltration, then there's some level of reception given to this man that is coming to infiltrate your ranks. They know themselves. As we speak, there are genuine headers in any part of this country that they do because they are known. You can relate to them. They live in the communities. But these migrants, so-called terrorists who call themselves headers, what they do is they have a camp somewhere. And then if there is anything, they are the militia arm of these people. Once there is any pushback from the community, they just call them, they come in and rout everybody and go back to base. So that is to explain to you what they meant by infiltration. Why did you invite them if you knew that you are not up to something bad? Why did you have to invite a stranger to come and infiltrate your rank, to fight your battle, and then kill as many as possible, then return back to base? So, if anybody is saying that infiltration, my community is my community. If anybody comes to my community that is a stranger, I ought to know. The people around the place should also know. So, up to today, in Okirikun, as we speak, there are headers that mingle with the community. They do business with the community. They accept them. Nobody attacks them. But these people, they are nomadic terrorists who mingle like a wolf in the midst of sheep to attack people. Okay.
The evening watch takes place here from Mondays through Fridays, and we discuss topical issues across Nigeria's social, economic, and political landscape. We also try to launch on issues that affect us on a daily basis. Certain concepts and social constructs that are kind of complex, maybe not complex, but based on your interpretation of it, we try to put things in proper context, in proper perspectives, and we have analysts who gives us their own purview. Now, the purview of the analyst does not determine that could be the facts. you have a right to determine what is fact for you and what you align with. So in some instances, you may not agree with their reasoning, with their line of thought. And you have a reason to. But what do you do here? That's why it's an interactive session. So during the calling session or time for you to send messages, you tell us precisely the angle with which you do not align with the analyst, or some instances where there are memory lapses or gaps in the train of thought of the analyst, specifically when it has to do with history. You now try to correct or help us. It's an educational platform. We try to educate ourselves, and in some instances, try to have fun in the process. All right, so it's an opportunity for us to harmoniously deliberate issues of importance. I want to say something. So remember when we were in secondary school, for those of you who did if you're in lead club, so there were certain schools used to do, right? They organized competition between schools, and then we discussed different topics. So when I was in secondary school, we had what they called presidential debates. So I don't know if it's still going on with unity schools as federal government colleges. I don't know if that is still on right now. At the time I represented my school, we all converged at Federal Government College in Lorry, Kwara State. That was the first time I ever went to Kwara State, the very first time. Their school is so well, I don't know if it is like that now. Their school was very big, and we were quite excited because from the north coming down to the southwest, it was a very long journey at a time. So we were excited, Now, we had this thing where there were common topics. Why teachers are better than farmers, what is nature versus nurture, convince your panelist why your line of thought or your pointers are better. And it was a very interesting version for students to deliberate, talk with all their pointers, and it's a way to kind of analyze or assess the students. Number one, their wealth of knowledge. Number two, the ability of them to properly articulate their thoughts in coherence based on the pointers they give us, So their level of coherence, precision, articulation, clarity, no ambiguities, and sometimes they look at technicalities and timeliness in your debate. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is the concept of nature versus nurture. There's a saying that nature is a strong determinant, and that nurture, in some instances, do not really help to clarify or give a definition about a particular individual. Some persons will say, no, that's not the case, because despite the fact that an animal was born in the wild, once you're able to take that animal from that wilderness to a place that has a system, a structure, that animal, based on what they observe in their environment, will begin to adopt and absorb whatever they see in that environment. And obviously, in a structured environment, you instill what discipline. You let that animal know what is right and what is wrong, and whatever disciplinary measure can be applied when they do something wrong. When you do something good, obviously there's a reward system. So there's a structure to it. Then there's also the essence of if you do something rascal. My grandfather will also always, whenever we play too much, he said, "You scallywags, get out of here." That's my daddy's dad. He liked all this big grammar every time. So and when these animals behave like scallywags, let me use my grandfather's terms, you now do what you call, these are the systems you would have to go through in terms of punitive measures enacted on you. Now, where am I heading to? In Nigeria, they say that our comprehension, our disposition, our reaction, our absorption is determined by the nature of our environment, of the system we found ourselves, and the social constructs that Nigerians have been supposedly compartmentalized in. So they
We have an issue here. We are trying to understand the exact role that Mieti Allah plays within the insecurity context here in Nigeria. They are headers, who head their cows from one end of the country to the other. Unfortunately, in the midst of this, they destroy communities. In the Middle Belt region, thousands have been displaced from their communities. All thanks to probably these headers. And we hear that it's a header from our class. In the meantime, we have a National Security Advisor who tells us that, most of the arms of these terrorists are from the Nigerian army armory. how do you react to that, especially knowing that the government is unable to, in some communities in the Middle Belt, they have been chased out of their native lands, ancestral home and all of that, and people are living in IDP camps. Meanwhile, the people that displaced them are living in their communities. Yet you have a government that talks tough, fighting insecurity. They are unable to say, this people live this place, it doesn't belong to you. Go back to where you are coming from. And now return the internally displaced people to the ancestral home. Rather, what they do is go to this IDP camp, drop 1 billion naira for them and say, well, we are trying to solve your problem. What is the role of government in all of this?
Yes. Kind of put this, and this is another serious problem. It's very, very dicey and if you explain that these are leather, because you just that they are moving from forest to forest, to make sure that and that is another part of what the issue is that the people that they are carrying plantation sophisticated weapons. The last time they were on camera in this, you see the very pain for the demo rifle. Then you get to wonder, is this just a loan for cows? Who is in the that is going to wrestle with you, making sure that this is all it is, still your cow? Just a few days ago, I saw on Twitter, where these people were destroying a very large acres of maize. Destroying it just for the purpose of making it convenient for the cow. And when you get the reaction from the farmers, the key there is you see people coming from farm with their farm produce, and then you command them to release it to their cows. And when they put their legs are being top up, they get raped, a lot of things, inhuman treatment to be unleashed on innocent farmers. And to some form of agriculture. And I will tell you that our cities are suffering in our different land. Reason because this is for insecurity in the forest. No buyers anymore. They will tell you, we can't buy this food because the forest is no longer. Nobody's going to farm. Food is becoming expensive. And there is no food reserve for the country. So these are the issues that are affecting Nigerians. In another form, terrorism. And these same people who are the perpetrators of this crime are what people giving very lenient fine. Imagine a court pronounce 2 billion on an individual, then you go secure judgment in another court to counter the. You can see the way these people are using the same institution that is supposed to be protecting the people, using the same institution for their favor. Now you ask a question: how should the government react? Very simple. They've been saying ranking. Pretty ranking for these people. What is the approach to the government, or what is the follow-up to this issue? Why can't you just give a marching order that they should withdraw these people from the forest, withdraw these people from the bush, withdraw them from people farmland? Tell them that there should be special in the police, which is the main purpose of that branch. Now, if it's okay about this, it's okay about their life, and it's okay about the food surplus. These are the things that they should be doing, but there's no attention given to it. But this is the issue. If you go and take statistics of people who have been killed, who have been molested, with this, we will not believe it. So the government must take decisive steps to making sure that these people are withdrawn from the forest. Now, yesterday in those states, the commission close to 400 and something. But I want to see what they are going to do. Because here in those states, farmers are still being terrorized by these people. So I'll put them and watch and see what they are going to do.
All right, thank you very much.
It's no longer funny. The forest is no longer funny. Just while we were campaigning, there was this woman that was dead in the forest. He was in a farm. They raped her and blind her too high.
Okay.
You can see that minimal treatment. We tried looking for her to make sure that we bring her to the village, but the family were too scared. They don't want their wife to be exposed to other friends.
All right then.
So I want to see what they are going to do.
Let's see what the government is going to do about all of this.
Insecurity.
Okay.
Then we should be seeing decisive steps.
Decisive steps taken by the government. All right then, thank you very much.
Of the terrorism, and the federal government must tackle.
Another form of terrorism the federal government needs to tackle. Thank you very much, William Sediai.
Authorized Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I'm Charles Anyekolo. Now to the week that was, a week in which President Tinubu defended his no ransom policy, saying no ransom was paid in the Orire rescue. A week in which the federal government announced Nigeria will create 4 new army divisions. A week in which the House of Representatives opened an investigation into the mysterious Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, an agency that, according to the head of the civil service, effectively did not exist in government records. And a week in which we also remembered history. 60 years after his assassination, General Ironsi was honored nationwide. But to help us assess the week that was, we tell have had a long week, I'm joined now from our studios in Lagos by Arise Director of Politics, Akin Oshuntakun, and here in Abuja by the Policy Strategist and Group CEO of the Global Investment and Trade Company, Baba Yusuf. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let me come to you first, Akin, in Lagos. Really good to have you on the program. President Tinubu insists no ransom was paid to secure the release of the Orire victims. If that is indeed the case, does this represent a genuine turning point in Nigeria's counter-kidnapping strategy?
Good evening, Chancellor. That was quite a robust session. We had with Archbishop Naik.
Just a new robust
question about well, that is what I expect the government to say. That is the correct position to take. And of course, I mean, it will have been implicit in their actions right from the beginning of the nation. A government, you will be submitting to the terror, to the terrorists, if you accept to pay ransoms to them. I mean, the implication of that is that it will be a growth industry. So they'll be expecting that, which will attract, of course, more and more people. But you have to also balance that against the humanitarian aspect. That, look, I just read today a group in Kwara State. I was astonished when I saw that over 100 students or victims have been in captivity probably long before the Orire incident. So when you see that, and then it's a very tough situation. It's a tough call, to make. But ultimately, if the government says that they have assumed, I think there's a renewed confidence in the capacity of the government to tackle the menace. That is a reflection of what I can make from that categorical statement, that they now have enough confidence in their capacity to tackle the menace without giving an inch, to the terrorists. Ultimately, as I said earlier, that is what had to happen. At one time or the other, the government had to not only refuse paying ransom, but to eradicate the menace entirely, to root it out,
right,
as much as that can be achieved.
Okay.
So that is, as I said.
Yeah. Sorry, Akin. Let me just come to Baba Yusuf there, because if just listening to Akin Oshun talk Baba, he was making the point, and I certainly agree with him, that the president came across as in very, very confident when he was talking about that Orire kidnap and the fact that no ransom was paid. But even if the state succeeds in carrying out occasional rescue operations, can Nigeria realistically sustain a no ransom policy without significantly improving things like intelligence, logistics, and rapid response capabilities? Or does the policy risk becoming more aspirational than practical?
Thank you for having me, Charles, and good evening, viewers. And thank you for that question. I heard the speech of Mr. President yesterday, sounding very confident, and I'm very relieved to hear the reiteration by Mr. President, aligning with what most of us have been saying, that we should not negotiate with terrorists, whether they are bandits, whether they are kidnappers, cattle busters.
I do recall you saying that consistent.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Charles. I think that is the case, Charles. I totally agree with you to the extent that we should move beyond, just speaking about it and making sure that we are not operating from a weaker level. What am I saying? You talked about the capacity to round out this terrorists. But even before that, there needs to be clear alignment of objectives in action between Mr. President, with profound respect, and the governors. We know over time they are trying to align lockstep recently. But beyond the governors, also other key players at top level. Narratives and narrations that are antithetical to the position of Mr. President vis-a-vis not paying ransom and routing. We hear things about they are our brothers. We hear things about they are prodigal sons. These are conflicting messages at the top line. So I will expect everybody to align with Mr. President's body language at this instance and the language, the use of words, but more importantly, we need to actively pursue and route out using the Orire model to ensure that Kayama and other places in Borno, Zamfara, and others are rescued. So we upscale that and route them. Unless we do that, the truth is, it's a pocket of situations would force us to a situation whereby maybe, just maybe, we have to start considering that. And the moment we start doing that, we'll lose more ground than advantage. So over and beyond the narrative, the positioning, the body language, the language of critical stakeholders should be the same. No negotiation, zero tolerance, but beyond talking, act decisively around them out.
And Akin Oshintokun in Lagos, in the direction of that acting decisively that Baba Yusuf was talking about, the government says it will create 4 new army divisions. Will that fundamentally improve security, or are they focusing on expanding structures without first addressing the intelligence, the equipment, and things like welfare deficits that already exist?
Well, realistically, they must have taken all that into consideration. I personally have wondered why, the established, why we grew up with the situation in which you have the security defense apparatus of the country was lopsidedly, in the north, and we understand that. But I think you have the NDA, you have the Nigerian military school, you have something. So I think it's a step in the right direction that you have to, if at the moment you can afford it, it's a good policy, and especially it's very responsive, to this security degeneration all over the country. That that requires now a faster and a more legal response to what is happening. It's something that even without the degeneration in the security situation, the more you can boost your security capacity, the better it is. And when we look at America calls itself the superpower in the world, the only superpower. And on top of that, you still appropriate trillions of dollars to the defense industry almost on a yearly basis. So ordinarily, a country should seek to improve its security capacity, but more so in the situation of degeneration, extensive degeneration of security crisis all over the country. You saw the energy that was put into the Orire, and that was a situation that was peculiar in the way that we saw it from the beginning. It attracted a lot of attention right from the beginning to the end, and what the government was doing about it. For instance, the very day they were, the victims were kidnapped, security agents were on their trail the following day. But unfortunately, 3 of them died, from the detonation of IEDs, So that tells you, the scale and magnitude of the problem we're grappling with, and how this course is necessary, is prescriptive. The chairman and former governor Ayero was saying something which, of course, tallies with what I say, that when it comes to request for appropriation, more funds for the security in the country, the National Assembly almost automatically agrees and provides a fund. So there's not enough with the present situation that Nigeria is. You can't say you have overdone anything. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. And of course, you don't do anything just for it will be meaningless if you establish those divisions and they are not adequately, provided for to function as the battalion, as the unit that they are meant to.
Right, that's a good point. We've got to gallop ahead because we've just got about 10 minutes left. So I'll appeal to both of you to keep your answers reasonably short. To comment very briefly, Baba Yusuf, on this idea of new sort of army battalions, divisions rather, and whether or not, because I mean successive governments have announced new military formations, commands, deployments, yet insecurity persists.
Yeah, it's a welcome development, Charles, that for a long time, even the army chiefs or the military armed forces generally, including police, have been requiring to put more boots on the ground because of the scaling of multidimensional insecurity in Nigeria. So it's a welcome development. I think if you dimension the situation, we are talking about the frameworking of the divisions. There's a nexus between frameworking additional divisions with man and material resourcing, with doctrine and training within the timeline, capacity building, the welfare, the building, the barracks. Don't forget that the average number of boots in a division is between 7,000 to 10,000 in the Nigerian context. Suffice it to say, with this number, it's about 7,000 per division on the average. The scaling means about 16% increase on the 160,000 army boots, which means 16% increase in wage bill, in the requirement for resourcing for weaponry. Whereas we saw General Bremer dying in Borno in a very sad situation where his battalion was overrun only 1 day. So this gap in terms of funding and others are very crucial for us to achieve that. And the timeline to activate the rank and file and the officers we know for NDA is about 6 years. But that being said, let us work to the answer, recognizing that by half year this year, only 7% of the defense budget was released. I don't know how they're able to connect that and really make it work. But it's a welcome development.
Thank you for that. And let's, as I said, keep it brief. And let me return to you in Lagos, Akin Oshuntakum. Let's turn to the PFIPC scandal. How do you assess the investigation being carried out by the House of Representatives about that alleged fake agents?
That's beyond expectation. It looks to me like fiction, right from the, I'm surprised, I've been in public service before. I've been operated at a very high level political position. So, given my own with all of that, I couldn't believe it when I started reading about it. But right from the word go, I will say this, that the chief of staff doesn't issue letters of appointment. That is the first year. I don't believe that. It's not possible. The best the chief of staff can do is write to the secretary to the government of the SGF, who will then issue a letter of appointment. That is the first, for me, shocking thing that had happened. But you then wonder, how things started piling on top of one another. It's a reflection of the height of government inefficiency or ineffectiveness. That a person can, conspire not only with one agency, if that's what happened, but several. The office of the Accountant General of the Federation, the office of the SGF, the National Assembly. This is, Houdini. How it was able, to bring all these elements together, to serve even the diplomatic community, to serve the cause of fiction. For me, it's beyond
Yes, I think
expectation.
a lot of people.
But I wish I could see that guy, If I ever come across him, I will box him straight in the face.
Well, you'll have to see him first, I guess. But let me come to you quickly, because we're almost out of time. Let me come to you, Baba Yusuf. If lawmakers ultimately establish that the integrity of government processes has been severely compromised, as appears to be the case, who should be held politically and legally accountable?
The entire governance framework, Charles, is I should mention the level of inefficiency. I would profound respect, more importantly, the rot of corruption, across institutions, whether it is executive, legislature, or the judiciary, and I say that with all sense of responsibility. Charles, recall February 2016, then Prime Minister, Cameron of David Cameron of Britain described Nigeria and Afghanistan as two of the most fantastically corrupt countries in the world. At the eve of a meeting that he convened where our president and Muhammad Buhari was supposed to attend. That is the low, how the other countries are looking at us in the community of nations. And 10 years down the line, rather for Nigeria to be better, we are having phantom organizations, and the worst part of it is across the arms of government, especially the legislature and executive, they are deodorizing the issue. Now let me remind all of us that in the administration of criminal justice in Nigeria and anywhere in the world, the motive for disclosing crime, because this is a crime, does not excuse perpetrators from culpability. So demonizing Ademi alone and trying to make it look as if people just made mistakes, no, this is crime, this is criminality, pure and simple. And we should make sure that the other people that are part of it, of course Ademi is already neck deep in it, should be brought out and they should face, justice. Unless we do that, nobody will take us serious. Charles, even the Guardian of UK and other medias around the world picked this story and ran with it. And we are here making a jest of it. I'm sure the National Assembly is just doing what I call the dogs and pony show, because at the end of the day, just like piles and piles of reports, they will go and gather those somewhere without consequences. And that is the tragedy of Nigeria.
Well, we hope it doesn't end up being that way. Very briefly, Akin, because we're almost literally out of time, let's turn to the Agui Ironsi and Fajui Memorial. 60 years after the assassination of General Agui Ironsi and Colonel Adekunle Fajui, political leaders continue to speak about unity and sacrifice. Have those words translated into nation building, or are they becoming annual commemorative rituals with little practical meaning? Briefly.
Well, there are some incidents that brings me to tears, every time I read about it, particularly tragic. And I've tried to confirm, from several quarters, whether what was attributed to Adekunle Fajui was authentic, that he said, well, he will not allow them to go and kill Ironsi. He was his guest, and he was going to go with him. And on that fact, I've been almost 100%, including people like President Obasanjo, people who should know that was what exactly happened. But that is the beginning of the tragedy of Nigeria. That was what, of course, set Nigeria on the path to civil war. The Katapu, especially, of course. I mean, it was a reaction to the January war, but the Katapu was particularly vicious. It was, you know, I mean, it was just too much. And these two people, you know, and I don't know, I mean, see what we were told precipitated or likely accounted for why he had to treated the way he was treated was the unification decree. You know, abolishing the regions, abolishing the federalism.
Yes.
And so, first, I mean, but what we condemned in him is what has become the political culture of Nigeria today.
Okay.
And largely responsible for where we are.
Okay, well, let me come to you for the final word, Baba Yusuf. Fajiri chose death rather than betray his commander-in-chief. Looking at Nigeria's political leadership today, do we still produce leaders who place principle above personal survival, or has that ethos largely disappeared?
They have largely disappeared because the leaders themselves do not earn that kind of loyalty, Charles. Those kind of leaders earn that loyalty. But albeit today, political leaders want you to hero worship them. Right. Psychophancy is the name of the game. But I will land with this. For Nigeria to heal, we need to sincerely and honestly address these fraud lines. Hypocrisy and glossing over these issues will continue leaving those fundamental issues while we pretend we have a united Nigeria. But indeed, the wounds are not healing. They are down there. Right. They are still increasing and rotting. Okay. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Amen. And Baba Yusuf, Group CEO of the Global Investment and Trade Company, is a policy strategist, and Akin Oshunchokun is a RISE Director of Politics, and he joined us from our studios in Lagos. Thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again next week from me and the entire team here in Abuja and Lagos. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.
The evening rush takes place here from Mondays through Friday for a very long time. But it doesn't happen here. So the big question is, what kind of political construct do we have? And what social constructs that are we aligned with? How did we come to a certain system where our social construct is so abnormal that some persons consider it to be primitive? Primitive to the point that human life is so basic and not valued by their own citizens. It's a problem. So, for example, if an animal was raised in the wilderness, and you think you want to bring that animal from the wilderness as a teenage age when they have grown to an advanced stage, and you say you want to take that animal and bring that animal to society that has a system or a structure, and you want to discipline that animal, you do know what you're getting yourself into. So it's easy to modify, to mold people when they're little. And talking again about the nature-nurture concept, where the nature-nurture concept comes into place. How you can create a system that works from the very foundation. Because when you have allowed a system to get rotten, and then you want to start making correction at the surface, it is an effort in futility. So no matter how nature determines the orientation of a person, if from the beginning of that person's lifestyle and exposition to when they know what is right and wrong, you nurture them properly, instilling discipline, principles, social cultural values, and educate them, they will grow up in a certain way. Now, nature will come in some instances, but they will curb some of those malfeasance of nature. They will control it. There are some people who are so temperamental, they got that from their father or their mother. Now, they'll tell you to go to temperament counseling, right? Because somebody in that family has seen that you possess the DNA of that temperament, that's the hot temper, as you may call it. Somebody in the family decides that I better curtail this attitude of this child now, because if we let it go or let it go out of place, they may have any family member. And the question will be, what kind of family does this person come from? And how will this person learn that this kind of behavior is not something you meant to exhibit in a sane society? So what kind of political sanity does Nigerians practice? It's a very important aspect of the conversation. I don't know if you guys understand my line of thought. So from the formation of Nigeria as a country, to when we decided that we needed to have a federal system of government, to the formation of our constitution, to the kind of rules of the rule of law that we apply, and to the mental mindset of Nigerians to what they're exposed to. How many persons have become mentally decapitated to a system that you cannot comprehend? So a lot of them travel out and somehow they adjust, they modify. Some parents have a way of taking their children out of the country and then they become better. Some of them don't. So you see the parents returning them to Nigeria, that they need to learn their traditional values, and that the social construct of Nigeria, which is different from that of, Obodo Igbo or Europe, would straighten them up to learn respect, to learn integrity, to learn mannerisms, to understand that as a man you're a man and not a woman, and that you're a woman and not a man, is not something that is accepted in this part of the world, because the social construct of this part of the world is, if you behave in an obscene manner, in a way that is outside the spectrum, you'll be looked at as a complete stranger or somebody who has mental derangement. So we want to understand the kind of politics we operate here. Is it normal? Was there a fracture from the beginning or from the onset of the political journey that Nigeria decided to adopt when they wanted to go into a democratic setting? When they said we're no longer in a military era, we want to embrace democracy. What happened? Where did we get it wrong? Who were the actors that broke it? Who were the certain persons that made it become what it is? That's the kind of politics here must be determined by set of persons. And that when it comes to presidency, when it comes to governors, it must be certain persons from a certain area. When did it become a point that integrity, competence is not a major component for a decisive factor on a leader? You need to understand where all of these anomalies came from, how it happened. Alright? If you're joining us for the very first time, this is Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We actually are streaming live on YouTube. I'll deploy it to join us right about now to actually be part of the conversation. Recently, Obasanjo was in an interview and he had quite a lot to say about leadership and the kind of leadership that will operate. And he called the Nigerian president a drunken sailor because of the kind of spending that he got involved in, or the kind of spending culture that he considers not sane. Let's take a listen to him.
Office without Ekpa. Okay, office without Ekpa. And then you will go just heard, oh, what are these people? What are they going to achieve? What are they going to do? What do you want? And you just make something that has been instructed. You can give you an example. When I was military head of state, we decided to really be part of the frontline states to fight the last vestiges of colonialism and apartheid. And we were determined. So, as a result of our policy, that looks at our determination, then we became known as Ekpa with the frontline state. And we were thousands of kilometers of the frontline. And we decided that we will
There's a problem with Nigeria's leadership. There's a decline in the mannerism, the people-oriented thoughts and policies of the kind of leaders we've had ever since we decided to embrace democracy. We seem not to have leaders that prioritizes the interests of their people, and that they have created a cesspit of corruption in the system that somehow people are confused at this point. So we're now asking ourselves, if there is a retrogression and no progression, what is the essence of being part of the political system that at the end of the day, there are a predetermined set of persons who decides who emerges? What is the essence of going through the exercise if at the end of the day, people's votes may not count? It's just an exercise to let it be to the international community that certain persons participated. What is the mental state? What is the political construct of Nigerians in terms of them understanding why they have the right, it's their power to decide the kind of leadership that represents them? At what point did Nigerians become so subservient? They became so subservient and so docile, mentally handcuffed, to the point where sometimes they are psychologically and emotionally confused. The very few who have a sense of dependency in logical reasoning, the very few may actually be murdered. Now we're talking about the construct that is confusing or possibly not even existing. My guest today is Barrister. My guest today is Fred Nzako. He's a legal practitioner. Today we heard that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Kekereekun, has ordered all legal practitioners, whatever capacity of a legal practitioner that you are, to stop adding the barrister as a prefix to their names, including all titles, documents, all of that. None of them should do that. They say they're directed by the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria to notify all litigation staff, legal practitioners, court registrars, and lawyers that the use of the title barrister as a prefix to names is inappropriate and inconsistent with the standards of professionalism expected within the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So I would have to call Fred Nzako a legal practitioner rather than say barrister Fred Nzako. So yes, that's what we're going to be discussing this evening. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's just take a very short break. I'll be right back while I try to connect with Fred Nzako, my analyst today on the email. She can stay with us. Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Thank you for staying with us. Oh, Fred Nzako, good evening, sir. How are you? Welcome, sir. All right, my analyst today is a legal practitioner, a political and social affairs commentator. Sir, first of all, let me ask you this question very briefly. What happened to our political space? What kind of political construct or political mentality do we practice in Nigeria? Okay. All right, sir. In regards to some of your explanation about Sir, Mr. Fred example, here are the concepts I want you to help us break down. Nigerians always complain, as I think I recall those times when the National Orientation Agency was active, all right, when it was not just an agency established to be moribund or redundant and monies allocated. They used to make campaigns on Nigerians, you deserve every right to be equal, you deserve every right to be civil towards each other, you deserve every right to quality education, good health care, proper social infrastructure. So it is important for you to vote right, vote the person you know can determine all of that for you.
all of a sudden we don't hear any of those whatever anymore. Maybe now it's prevalence of social media that has taken over most of those advertisements, or rhythms that they help us create that we love to watch on TV. Now, is there a lack of political orientation? That there is just a manner of thinking when the political season is rife. So the manner of thinking is like this. I don't care if my person is capable or not. So long as the person is from my region, I'm voting for that person. Oh, okay, well, yeah, the person is not 100% perfect, but he's better than others. Or these people think they'll always remain in power because they think they're the most populated region, or they think that it must be the deciding factor determining who becomes president of Nigeria. There is this line of reasoning that a lot of when you open spaces where conversations are held, you begin to hear the same rhetoric, the same narrative. So is it deliberate to discombobulate the thinking faculty of a logical Nigerian? Because when you hear some persons who are quite educated talk and reason, you're dumbfounded as to why they think and reason in a very myopic, all right, a primitive way. It hurts me. It irks me when I give some level of regard or respect to certain persons who should know better, possibly because they are presumed to be exposed or educated, but they reason the same way in a primitive manner. So what happened? Where did it become debilitated to that point that you cannot shift anybody's thinking from that way? Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you well, sir. Yes, I've been back to you, Sid. You can't hear me. So you didn't get my question. Okay. Okay.
1986, General Wando Maradona, their Argentine football legend, removed his way into the World Cup final, and Argentina carried the World Cup, including when he committed a foul that was popularly called the hand of God, and it was not seen by the jury. All that are now elements of history. And because of the dribbling capacity of Maradona, the Nigerian journalists and the media and the concession of the socialist side of the Igbo described Babangida as a Maradona. And then Maradona is still back to give them the more or less an alliance, which is an expression of how you can bring Nigerians on the political front. And even in 1993, when he conducted the election, he said he did not hand over because he declared the election inconclusive. All of us now knew what happened in 1993, an election that was roundly won by Timothy Abiola. Now, as he was preparing Nigerians towards handover to democracy, one time was created. And was doing very well. And when they came over to the 1999, ultimately, when Abanga had his own tour and the rest of them, that some was now changed to National Communication Agency. When he was changed, it had something as from trying to bring the people into the realization of their responsibilities and their civic roles as citizens in a democratic environment. Shortly after that, the effects of National Intelligence continued to dwindle over time. And by the time Buhari took over in 2015, NOA was almost became completely moribund, and it has not resurrected up to today. So many people thought that he would, as he promised, revive the agency. But the agency occupies a very important place in our social mobilization, in our political consciousness, in the education of Nigerians to understand the basic essence of democracy and the basic essence of civic engagement and patriotic responsibility as people of Nigeria. Because going to school does not mean that one is learned or educated. And that is why sometimes we have this cliché that somebody is an educated illiterate, meaning that one went to school but knows next to nothing on issues of civic responsibility. I can tell you this, that with all sense of responsibility and mobility, that so many things are at best deliberate political illiterates. And when I say political, I do not mean issues of belonging to political party. But let me use the word patriotism instead of political. Many Nigerians are educated patriotic illiterates or illiterate patriots because they do not understand what it takes to become patriotic and what it takes to build a country and fuse it into a nation state. A nation state where there will be not only equality before the law, but legalitarianism, justice, equity, and fairness. Anybody who imbibes these cardinal principles of humanity, justice, equity, fairness, and egalitarianism, any person didn't enter any form of this book, that person is educated and patriotically conscious. But even if you have a PhD, or you are a professor, or a senior advocate, or whatever you are, and you do not have those cardinal principles of humanity, the person is at best an illiterate. There are too many illiterates, many illiterates in Nigeria. It does not end in speaking high-sounding grammar. It does not end in acquiring well-done resources. It does not end in capturing. fairness and equity, your degree of tolerance and accommodation, your degree of hospitality and compassion, your degree of empathy and feeling for one another. I can tell you why that these qualities are lacking largely in Nigeria. I always use this as an example. It took President Ekpa effort from America to come to help eradicate the war in Nigeria in an environment where we have so many billionaires. How many philanthropic organizations do we have in this country that are not politically motivated or motivated, that are naturally altruistic and naturally humane? How many do you have? If not that, a lot of them will be attached to the government trying to milk the government or trying to milk the naturally good ones from abroad. How many do we have? How many foundations in this country that are not based on politics? When you go to an environment where people have passion for humanity, people without going to church or going to mosque or even praying 5 times a day or crapping and doing night fishing all over the place, you see them loving one another. The Holy Ghost told us that the biggest law of nature is to love your neighbor as yourself. How many Nigerians love their neighbor as themselves? And that is when somebody will open his mouth and say that people are a 40 second. Somebody who was given one day to lead over 200 million people will come out a section of the populace and call them a 40 second. In any environment where even though we have federal government principle in our constitution, but nepotism, ethnicity, tribalism, sectionalism, and criminalism is uppermost in our principles as leaders. Where is that federal government? We need to be described in the constitution. And that is why somebody will sit down and say, oh, he's from my side. Let him lead. How can somebody open his mouth and say, instead of an Igbo man to become president, I don't mind letting Fulani killing our people? The leader of Southwest made such a pronouncement that he cannot stand an Igbo man being a president. That even if he has all the solutions, he will not become president. That he doesn't mind let the Maroonian terrorists from another ethnic group of Nigeria continue to kill his people.
Now, sir, hold on. That's indoctrination, sir. That indoctrination. Where did it stem from? The people cannot grow up with a certain mindset if they were not molded to think that way.
Of the mind. A mind that is corrupted, a mind that is only self-opinionated, a mind that we're talking about xenophobia. Xenophobia is equal to tribalism of all forms. It's equal to sectionalism. Because if we are all within Nigeria, and the woman does not want to see the Hausa man, the Hausa man does not want to see the Ikebuli man, the Yoruba man does not want to even hear the mention of people. And vice versa. Now, what does it tell you? It tells you that we have domestic xenophobia. We have internal hatred among ourselves. So, the question will be, how do we make it solve all that? There's an adage that says, when the kid goes, when you go to the mother goat, is eating or chewing the cud, the kid is watching and observing. In Nigeria, we get it right. The elders and the leaders should know that they have a portion of responsibility, not only to themselves, not only to the immediate generation, but to the future generation. I had an opportunity to speak sometime about the problem in River State, and I told them point blank that the crime they committed against their brothers during the Civil War, the episode of abandoned property, is what is threatening them up to today because the leaders and the fathers and the elders have only taught their children brutality. and they explore of lost. They are not taught them brotherhood, they are not taught them love, they are not taught them autonomy, they have not taught them cohesiveness and togetherness. Is that what the young ones are saying as kids watching their adults is humanity, and they carry it to everything that they do. When the leaders are teaching Nigerian sexualism, when the man will mount the pulpit and be preaching hate, and the police will mount the pulpit and will not be preaching unity, and the tribal leader will be telling the people do not have anything to do with the next man, but they are equal. Then the young ones, people need, some of them do, even have gone outside the country, live for long, interact fully, and they have strong self-will for them to be able to resist the punch of tribalism. And that is the problem we have. And that is why we in movement for natural restructuring, we have looked critically at Nigerian situation, and we have come up with the opinion that we call solution, that we will restructure and all of true fiscal federalism will save this country from all this shenanigans. Because what we do, we will compare all the sections of the country, at least if you look at the zones as a platform for leadership and for administration. These zones will exploit these resources and then bring what they have and send to the center, and then there will be healthy competition and there will be mutual respect. Mutual respect. You cannot go and tell the governor in Texas that you are the mayor of New York. He will tell you to go back to the city and go and display the mayoralty there. And the same way it happens all over the place in the Chinese through fiscal federalism. The man is only the members in the north be illegally exploited and mined by the other leaders. The coal resources in the south will be for Nigeria. Why would the treatment know and compared that are the second largest independent commitment in the world, not the thoroughly exploited? Why would the federal government hold on to the coal in the Enugu and the state government will not have the capacity to take what is under their soil? And the coal has gone into a problem rather than blessing. Starting to 40% of the energy generation, energy generation in South Africa is powered by coal. We have a coal establishment in Kutiliba, which is a power station. Power station was powered by coal. At one end of it. Because I remember that when we were young, we were traveling to we would see the hanging tree, making coal from the Kutiliba mine down to the river. All that is gone. This is why we want to be government, the federal government of Nigeria, confirm the real line from Nigeria into Maradi Republic, another country. We are not inside brackets that of the southeast. As we speak today, the national gas water plan, the gas pipeline water plan, southeast and south have the largest deposit of gas in Africa. And that is the beds of gas in Nigeria. But the gas master plan about the industrial reform of the southeast, there is none that went to Aba, there is none that went to Play, there is none that went to Onitsha, there is none that went to all the developments, all the cluster industries, where you have the clusters of industrial development in one of southeast. That is intentional manipulation by government. So when the southeast government begin to cry about marginalization and improvisation, they say, when the federal government do the road and the express road that was by secondary chief, when the government goes to patch it, then we begin to clap. Government has worked on this one, it's an express, distance of less than 100 kilometers. But the federal government went to a road that is up to 400 kilometers, into the desert of the north. There are issues. And until we sit down several constitutional conferences, all their communique, all their resolutions, all their recommendations are directed on somewhere at the pillar, including the latest one, 2014 National Conference. So, what was happening next? In 1808, we are approaching the election, and there is so much trepidation in the land, so much. It is on. I was listening to one man who was analyzing the Osun State election that is coming in the next 2 weeks. I'm not saying that the temperature in Osun is so hot. The government is so charged, not the state election. Just one state. So if there will be such heightened fever in just governorship election, that's what happened. You think this country may be corporate? Transform it. No, we want the leadership of the country at all levels. All they are interested in is to hold power, is to grab power. Let's realize the rest. I want to tell leadership. It's not only political leadership. The spiritual fathers, the royal fathers, the political leaders, the legislators, the judiciary, and everybody who has given the owners union, including the transport union, the one you popularly the aside.
That's the NRTW.
At every point and twist, everybody who is a leadership person in Nigeria is undermining the interest of the rest. How can the country grow? If anybody sitting down to think about this country called Nigeria, is anybody doing that? What is given, what is expected? What are their rules? It's not always cosmetic and going to issues and solving problems. And that's why every now and then we seem to be in a round robin. Many years down the line, between 1999 and to date, we have spent over $80 billion on electricity. We have not grown above 4,500 megawatts. Today we generate about 7,000, but the distribution capacity is about 4,500, 1,500 megawatts. It's that in the country. Instead of the government to think of how to increase the energy, the government is trying is looking at how to steal from the people to do the banding. They say banding is banding. That is theft. That is open theft. Because you're supplying the same energy to be protecting the value of banding. You're supplying the same energy to another.
Oh, Max, have you not heard? The new Minister of Power has said that they're going to stop electricity subsidy in 2027. So I don't even understand. I thought there was no more subsidy on electricity. Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm here.
I said, have you not heard that the new Minister of Power says they will stop electricity subsidy in 2027? I thought that there was no longer electricity subsidy. I said the new minister said that there will no longer be electricity subsidy in 2027. I didn't know that electricity was being subsidized. Yeah, he says that by 2027 no more electricity subsidy.
So it's better to say no more electricity supply.
Because I didn't know that electricity was being subsidized.
For example, if you 103 units, alright, you spend 20,000 naira, it's giving you 88 units. You spend 50,000 naira, it's giving you just about 20 units. And we think how it will not get finished. Industries are crying, and the small scale manufacturers and businesses are suffering. They are losing jobs. And the same government is telling us that there is subsidy in electricity. Meanwhile, every budget cycle, government budget to bring amount of money is clearing outstanding debt to generating companies. How can you be doing that? Are they not supposed to be running as private business? Because they might have had a electricity industry. They are cronies and
the people don't have the expertise. All the major companies during the time of privatization, all the major companies in Germany, from Israel, from America, Kenya, then they are in Kenya. There's another company from Canada, Siemens, they all came here. A country that was Siemens would not have brought in this war.
Yeah.
And they didn't want them to stay. They want to face program so that they will be able to transfer the technology to indigenous operators. The same way we have in the oil sector, where we have the Nigerian Content Development Board. But with that, the exploration part of it is still in the hands of the foreigners.
Alright, so we'll take a very short break. Alright, so Craig, we'll take a very short break. We need to pay our bills. Be right back. We'll continue with this conversation, sir. Thank you very much. Please just stay on the line. Okay.
You are listening to your number one station, the voice of the people at 90.3 FM. Do not touch that dial.
Parents, you've worked hard to give your child the very best future with a 90% graduate employment rate. First 6 months of graduation, that future can be right here at Lancaster University, Ghana, the only British branch campus in sub-Saharan Africa. The same globally recognized UK degree, accredited to the highest international standards, all within a modern learning environment. Applications are now open. Visit lancaster.edu.gh to apply today. Lancaster University, Ghana, a global degree at your doorstep.
Species that will punch you down. Voice of the people, 93 years old. Leaders. How's the dark? I never built a job. It will worry you as it affect your business. So no jump on call. Imagine say you wake up for morning, light no shake, fridge don't block, business no get wahala, everything dey okay. No be dream with your Haku. And you dey to your light. The one dey sell gas cooker, freezer, fridge, and then go furnish you with modern kitchen whether na inverter, batteries, panels, smart street lights, solar AC system wey you wan use for house, business, and for industrial work. You have to stand chill to help you. Bye to never be no wait till transformer go spoil again. Oh yeah, room call you Haku for 070 121 30260 or 080 324 82573, or you fit to call 080 669 60066. For Lagos, we there for shop F1179 Industrial Section, or Alaba International Market, or shop G6 Electronic Section, Alaba International Market, 8th line, Ute Opoti Plaza, Abuja office na Corporate 13, Dubai International Market, back of King's Village, Kabu District for Abuja. For Port Harcourt, we there for number 51, Oporo Road, Eziowa Trade Center for River State. Yohako website na www.yohakoproducts.com. Online store na www.yohakostore.com. Yohako, from sun to earth, we dey make your mind dey connect.
advert comes up, it's louder and clearer. So I think it will work. I think you must have observed when I was doing the world news that somebody was actually working, and I was furious with the person for working while I was working. At that time, I think they were trying to fix the mic. It was a mic situation that the engineer was trying to fix when I was doing the world news. Very for example, very quickly, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereku, has directed lawyers and court officials to stop using the title barrister as a prefix to their names in all official engagements at the Supreme Court. And this directive was contained in a memorandum dated July 13. Now, according to what this actually states, all affected officers are to immediately stop using the title in official correspondence and other official materials. Barrister, can you hear me? So please, can you explain what this means? Because that was what made me, I couldn't call you barrister, for example, when we came back on. Can you explain precisely what that means? That they need to comply with this directive from the Chief Justice of Nigeria, that all supervisory officers are meant to enforce the compliance. Heads of departments, unit heads are requested to ensure strict compliance, and that basically even official correspondence, records, documents, identity materials, and other official engagements are with immediate effect not to be addressed with barrister as a prefix. Can you kindly explain what that means?
I think with due respect to the justice, it would be nice and she also asked her judges to stop answering my lordship. Doing my lordship or my lordship, or maybe when they switch to stop address as your honor or your worship in some state. Or maybe the executive should stop being an appendage, your excellency.
She says litigation staff, legal practitioners, court registrars, and lawyers that the use of the title barrister as a prefix to names is inappropriate and inconsistent with the standards of professionalism expected within the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So is it only within the Supreme Court?
Well, that is where she has direct authority, because even though she's the Chief Justice of the country, she is the head of court at the Supreme Court. The President of the Court of is the head of court at the Court of Appeal, and the Chief Justice of each state is the head of court at the state judiciary. And it will be required the authority of the CJN to give an overriding and sweeping directive to all courts in Nigeria. Because the Federal High Court, for example, they said courts, the Court of Appeal, and the as well as the Supreme Court are all creations of Constitution. So one court will not have an overriding power over the other. It is the same Constitution that created the hierarchy of courts. But the hierarchy does not take away the directing principles of each court. The directing principles will be set, the operating procedures, the standard of operating procedures, and modus operandi of interacting with every court is left to be handled and administered by the head of the particular court. If it is the Federal High Court, it is the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. If it is the Chief Judge of the State, if it is the Court of Appeal, it is the
very quickly back to Fred. Kenneth Okonkwo has come up again to call Peter Obi a class politician, saying that his lawyers did not advise him appropriately because Peter Obi said that Kenneth defamed him, and he said that he did not defame anything. Now, why has Peter not sued Arababi, or that is his former ally in the Labour Party, who has called him all forms of derogatory names? Why has Peter not sued Festus Keyamo, who called Peter Obi very recently as somebody who is an obstinate liar and who lies like a drunken fish? You know, that's one of the as a fish drinking water, and that's what Festus Keyamo said about Peter Obi yesterday when he said that the elections in 2027, there is no election but a coronation. Now, I told you that the APC have, over time, expressed that confidence that they're going to win the elections in 2027. It's a coronation. So, if they're this confident, then where did the opposition lose it?
Well, it has become very obvious that anybody who wants to appear in the headline in newspapers or want his name to be mentioned in the media will go and begin to talk about P2B. It also becomes very obvious that there is a department of P2B affairs in the state houses, in Aso Rock, and in the APC as a political party, and in the various states. These are issues that seem common in public domain. Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo zone is on different from the others. Those of them who are falling over themselves just to catch a glimpse of social mention by using the name of Mr. P2B, they know what they are doing. But like they say, the shepherd knows his sheep, and the sheep, they know their shepherd. Nigerians know the leader. Nigerians know the man they love. Nigerians know the man they voted for in 2023. And Nigerians know the man they have in mind to vote for 2027. All these gerrymandering and masturbation that all these elements are trying to do both mentally, psychologically, and physically will not end them. Mr. Obi took Kenneth Okonkwo to court for one thing who is the other spending over and over again. I'm not thinking of the story. I'm putting it. That Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo said that they have a lot of things to say about Mr. Obi. And that if he opens the can of war, people will close their nostrils. And Mr. Obi said, oh, excellent. I will take you to court so that you have the opportunity on the oath to say all those things that you want to say against me. Because Mr. Peter Obi believes that anybody who wants to become a leader of this country should be thoroughly separate and thoroughly examine in and out. Bring his past, bring his present, and if you can imagine his future, bring it to the table. And the thought to be scrutinized. And of course, he has always been scrutinized. And that is why he is the man of the moment at all times. He is the man most talked about. He is the man whose initials PO will raise the head on this of so many people. Because if you want tells hope, and those who walk against the hope of Nigerians want to do everything possible to bring him down. Plus, there's no killing the people. He who the Lord has blessed, no man can touch. That's exactly the anointing and the grace that is on the carriage. So they are wasting their time. Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo is only expressing his dignity and his inconsistency as a him. And that is why he does not have the moral attitude, the moral standing to say anything against Mr. P2B, because he has been proven to be not good. A man whose work can mean something today and mean another thing. Any man at this age who is so inconsistent and so arousing and so petty cannot be trusted.
quickly, Now Fund has received about 1.7 million applications and processed approximately 1.5 million. Participation from the Southeast remains below expectations, to the point that the managing director of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, Akintunde Sawyer, expressed concerns over the low number of student loan applications from Nigeria's Southeast region. They urged eligible students to take advantage of the federal government's interest-free education loan scheme. And he made this appeal today during the Renewed Hope Students Engagement and Digital Acceleration Program, DAP, for the Southeast Zone held at the University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, where officials in the federal government encouraged students to embrace digital skills while selected beneficiaries received laptop computers to support learning and innovation. So he says that right now, the NEL Fund received 1.7 million applications, they processed approximately 1.5 million participation, but that the Southeast remains extremely low. So the question now arose, if the Southeast complains they're marginalized and the scheme comes on where they're meant to be part of, it's like somehow they've just decided to do things in their own way, sponsor themselves educational wise, do their things their own way, like they don't trust the system to involve them. Or could there be something else?
Ekpa is a combination of all. The Southeastern has been so much down, right, that even when the government comes to tackle any kind of protest, they will suspicion because they have seen it, they have felt it, and then they have experienced it. It is not as if there are no poor people in the Southeast or people who do not meet the level loan. They apply. I can tell you, I love to meet people. They apply, but they don't get to be approved.
Really?
They never put different, yes, they never put different executive. If his cry is honest, let him talk. Except he is only shedding crocodile here.
No, he says that, according to him, he says maybe this is a misconception about the scheme. Maybe they don't trust the scheme, like other schemes, like the Nigerian Army, NNPC, other lucrative schemes where they don't involve the Southeast. Somehow it's like those aspects, CBN, NIMASA, NNPC are for some certain persons. So they feel like those aspects that are very lucrative, they don't consider them. But that he's saying for Now Fund, you don't have to pay until you get a job. And it's a scheme for everybody. Like, it's not a marginalized scheme, right? So, but that maybe is a misconception about the scheme or cultural attitude towards borrowing, that they don't really like borrowing or they feel borrowing is somehow disrespectful or something. I don't know if that is what the reason is.
That's why I told you the combination of many of all. The lucrative jobs don't even get to hear about it. The security ones that you can say, you mentioned the military and the rest of them. That is the one they will come and be dangling before the youth in the Southeast. And the youth in the Southeast, their brothers who are hopefully the military will tell you that even within the rank and file of the military, some of them who are from the Southeast are manifestly exposed to danger by the commanding authorities. Now, if you want them to come and take them on loan, why would you marginalize them when they are entering secondary school in the schools? Why would you marginalize them when they graduate and then the man who took their own full loan from another part of the country will get a good job in CDF and in 1 month he pays it off? The young man in the Southeast who took the loan, he will come out and the loan is tight around him and he has no job to pay. And psychologically he is traumatized. And that is why we took the change. But it is not just a cultural thing that the Southeastern is an entrepreneur, very enterprising, and they can take reasonable measure risks. But they are not good at taking foolish risks. Because at the point of applying for the fund, the conditionality, they will go through it, and then there is a conditionality that if after so and so time you don't pay, the man is saying this, you get a job. So if you don't get any job at all, what happens? That's not the truth. That I didn't get it correctly.
No, that's what he says. He pay back until you have a job. Even when you get a job, if you lose that job, you stop paying. Your employer who is supposed to make the payment, 10% of your salary stops paying. Once you lose that job, until you get a better job or a good job and you're able to pay back. So that they should take advantage of that.
I've been satisfied. Two questions is, I've been satisfied over the ones that are applied. That is the question.
They are saying that right now they are not applying.
They are not applying.
Very few.
He's not telling the truth. Yes, I can make anything on it. He's not telling me. I was not there, but I can tell you because I interact with the people. He's not telling the truth. Many young ones in the university, in the college of education, in polytechnics and the rest of them, they apply and they don't get to be considered.
I don't know what's going on. Network has gone off again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I will reach out to Maris and friends and later, but it's time for us to take your reaction and obviously take your messages. I'd like to know what you think based on what we're doing out here today on the evening rush. The number to call is 080-3692-9933, 080-3692-9933. The WhatsApp number is 0817-1756-338, 0817-1756-338. Okay, that's the WhatsApp number to send your messages to. Hello, good evening. Hello?
Good evening.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Yes, I'm fine. My name is Akudim. I'm calling you from Oslo this evening.
All right, Akudim. Welcome. It's been quite a long time.
Yeah.
Welcome. Hello?
I would like to weigh in. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I would like to weigh in on this now form that these people are flaunting on our faces and whatever they are saying about the Southeast. Let's get it under Southeast. Southeast people are not longer tracing. That is number one. Whatever you throw at them, they are going to filter it. Take it very, very well and know the risky and the gain on it. They are not the people you can just entice with just anything through at them. They will be jumping and shouting at the media that the Messiah has come. No. They will sit down, calculate it, take it very, very well, and know whether them for today or for them to just move on with their life. So when whoever that is telling you, oh, the people are not applying, Ekpa, before now, people train their children without going anybody, without being invested to anybody. What is happening now? So the Southeast, I think I am from the Southeast, I love what they are doing. They can pay their school fees. You can't just come and entice me with the nail phone when my mom trained me in school with being a common petty trader. By the end of the day, I graduate and I'm not paying anybody, and you want me to become a debtor from day one when I have not gotten anything. You want me to become a debtor. I don't think it's something that I can take on my own. So I will just log it out, train myself in school, and get good grades and go on my own without paying anybody. Okay? So this cell phone they are telling us, I don't see anything good on it. That is just the truth. I don't see anything beneficial on it. Because you want me to become a debtor from the world. Why my people who sell ketchup before now, who sell Agbado and the rest of other things before now can train their children without paying anybody. But because of the bad economic policy, you are telling me about Nelson, which I'm not interested. So the Southeast people, close to them, I love what they are doing. They are can pay their school fees. They can take care of themselves. They will continue that way. Thank you.
All right, 08036929933. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Why am I okay?
Animal, welcome.
If like you like to be with.
Sorry.
See, if
I don't pick it, another call will come in.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's come from the weather now.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, I read Mr. Fred, is that correct?
You can call him Barry Fred.
7 days ago, we removed barrister.
Well, he says that all of that is just for purposes. It's not the law. Did you listen to what he said?
I joined it, don't mind. Anyway, the man, he really.
So long as you went to law school and you have your, I think you all have codes or something, you're a practicing lawyer. It's not a problem. I think it's just a school club thing.
If like that, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you about that. Thank you. So what I want to say is that you just pour my heart. Like, you just gave me, he doesn't need this night, just excellent. You understand? What happened is that part of Southeast are doing it now, but they are still arguing that one Nigeria. No problem, we accept it, you understand? But the fact is just that we are doing it now. That is it. Sometimes the propaganda is too much. Sometimes they will Southeast apply for things, but they will start propaganda that say, nobody come out from South. Like, when you see them saying the truth, it's something like military, anything that have to do with go to war and everything, that is when they will truly come out to want people from South to join, and which is very, very bad. Then concerning about the loan, why must I carry loan to go to school? Before, a law said person that is selling corn, children, person that is selling any little business can treat their children with that loan. So why would somebody come and carry loan to go to school? Tomorrow you'll be thinking about the loan. You don't even know what will happen then. Before you know it, you rent the house, you start the life. Anything that will happen, you'll be thinking about how to pay. It's very unfortunate. What I want to say is just that if they believe that people we are treating us like second-hand citizens, let me not lie to you. I know what I'm facing as a woman. I know what I'm facing. I know many things I hear saying against people, but maybe they will think I'm not an Igbo, but I know. Mister, you won't understand. Serious. It's very, very painful. It's not by force to do. It's not by force. If they don't want to, let us go. Eh? Thank you. I don't want to be emotional this night. Thank you so much and good night.
0803692 9933 0803692 9933. The WhatsApp number is 0817 1756 888. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, are you?
I'm fine, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, this policy is on bullshit.
Welcome, sir.
On the bell phone, I think that phone might not even understand that happened.
Now funds.
Bell phone, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I would have preferred the government to make school fees cheaper or made to accommodate in high institutions and giving loan, improving the standard of education and the facilities in their institutions. That is most important. Giving somebody loan and people were responding. There is always hidden what, just like when you talk about insurance policy, there are some hidden terms. Somebody may not know it at the middle of the road, start manifesting.